Okay, so you want
Want
to
me to
start?
start? Yeah, I can start. Okay. What is your name?
Ryan Gallagher,
Okay. You
What
start.
city or state do you work in?
City of Coral Springs in
And
state of Florida.
what's your job title?
Deputy Chief of Police.
Okay, so I'm just gonna explain our project a little bit.
Okay.
So basically, we're creating a straw, and it detects when a drink has been spiked.
Okay.
And changes color when a drink has been spiked to let the user know. And it's basically to prevent drink spiking related crimes and anything of that nature.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to go to the next question?
All right. Have you ever dealt with a drink spiking crime?
Um, our SVU unit deals with those things, and sometimes they're difficult to detect because you have people who potentially drink too much, or they think they had something put in their drink. And a lot of times when you're doing testing, it's hard because you have to know what you're testing for. So you could do a drug panel and maybe something comes up. So it is difficult. I do, and once again, a lot of these things are presumptuous, but I mean, I have a family member who is up at school at Florida State University, and um, he is an adult, and he was at a bar with one of his friends, and I could tell you that I do believe probably firsthand he witnessed it. Um, it was a friend of his went into the bar and probably one or two drinks in, and we're talking about adults who are used to having a little bit of alcohol.
Mhm.
Um, Within a couple drinks, he was actually passed out on the ground, and they had to call EMS.
Oh,
Oh,
To actually, he had to get in touch with their family, this witness, and call his family and have them respond up to the hospital up there. So I think that was potentially another time where that actually did happen, where something was put in the drink. Because I know from my family member, he said this person doesn't do any drugs.
mhm.
He hadn't even started drinking yet, but went into the bar, and probably within the first 20 minutes that happened. So yes, I do know of incidents where it has occurred. Yes.
Okay.
okay.
Do you think drink spiking is a prevalent issue in our community?
It's probably more so in the communities where they have a lot of, nightlife, probably more Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Miami Beach. Once again, it happens everywhere. But I think when you go into those scenes where you have more of young people where they go and party on the weekends, it's probably more so in those communities than here in Coral Springs. We do not have a lot of those nightclubs. So probably are not going to see as much of it as a place like Miami or New York City or Fort Lauderdale Beach,
But
where,
like the South
um,
Florida area, you would say.
yeah, I mean, places like that where people are going to go and, they do their spring break, things of that nature. This isn't really an area where we have much of that.
Okay. Do you think our product would have a potential use?
I do. I think first, I think it would have a preventative use because I think at the onset, if you have something like that, and I do believe there are some other products out there where the person actually has to um, buy like a little test kit, and they have test strips where they put in, and I've heard of those things. But once again, that you're relying on, which most people probably aren't going to do. Most young kids don't think it's ever going to be them. They don't think that they're going to be the victims. So they're not actually going out and taking those preventative steps. Whereas if you had a bar or a restaurant who used those, it's kind of put in place for them.
Mhm.
And if you had a straw that was able to detect something in a drink, then without the victim even realizing, and the bar could obviously promote it, they would know. So I think, and once again, I don't know if a lot of young people would take the time or be responsible enough to do it. But if it was already in place, I think there's a benefit there. I also think that there's another long-term benefit, and I don't want to jump ahead in your questions, but so, for instance, if you have something like that and a guy or a girl is able to see that potentially something's in your drink, that's terrific. It
Yeah.
stopped that incident from occurring.
Mhm.
But then, long term, what actually is happening? Are you just able to say, okay, I have avoided that incident? Because the predator who's doing that, if they're not caught, investigated, captured,
Yeah.
confronted, do they just move on to the next person? So I
Um,
think, go ahead.
so our goal would be with this straw is that once someone noticed that their drink has been spiked, is another product that we would implement with this whole system is it's an AI, and it kind of works with a bar or a restaurant or like a club, like pre-existing cameras, and you could just add it in. And so
Correct.
it would see when a drink has been spiked, like if your drink is changing color, and there's like we would put something in the straw to communicate that. And so that would be reported.
Okay, so when you do something like that, just remember with AI and facial recognition. So I have a lot of experience with that too. There are some hurdles with that, and I don't disagree with you. But a lot of people, bars, businesses, people in general, there's always a balance or an argument between safety and privacy.
Yes.
And you ladies will see that as you go further on in life. That is always an argument in life. So, for instance, there are facial recognition cameras all throughout, for instance, New York City. I think they probably have about 40,000 of them.
Mhm.
There are cameras that recognize tags on license plate readers so that you know when you drive into a city, if it's a stolen car or it's someone who's wanted, it automatically alerts the police. A lot of people believe that that's a privacy violation. Legally, it's not, but you get the argument that that potentially is.
Yeah.
So you do have to concern yourself with bars saying, well, we worry about the privacy of our customers also. So then you have that safety privacy argument, which obviously, you know, you get a product like that up off the ground, you have to have buy-in from the bar itself. The other thing is when you do something like that, and yes, that technology exists. So you can have facial recognition software. It is what database does that tie into? So
Yes.
hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, oh, girls, can I call you back in 1 second?
Yes.
I apologize. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Rosie ran out.
Okay.
Next
Okay.
question.
All right. Do you
So-
have any ideas to
So
enhance?
I wanted to just finish this thought too about the privacy issues too.
Okay.
So if you do use that AI and a bar has a camera system, that has to work with the database too. Just AI, it doesn't identify anybody if there's no database to look into. So a lot of agencies like we have, Broward County Sheriff's Office, a lot of different agencies have real-time crime centers, and that can actually link in so a bar can open their camera system to a police department. And then
Wow.
this way, we actually can check that against social media. We can check it against driver's licenses, arrest pictures, helps us identify the person. And then you're able to then continue the investigation.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any ideas to enhance our project?
Well, I think that would be it. I think to
Yeah.
do something like that, it would be making sure that you have buy-in from all the different entities that are involved. That would be the bar. You'd have to probably, you'd probably want to work with the camera company. I mean, and you don't necessarily have to. Listen, if this was just something that you were just going to use the straws and it was a preventative measure and it was going to kind of end there, you know, it would obviously it would just be working with the bars, and then and obviously you'd want to, you know, market this thing also. I mean, your younger generation is pretty good at that when it comes to marketing stuff on social media, so that it opens up that product to different bars and restaurants.
Okay. Great. If someone suspects their drink has been spiked, what should they do?
Definitely report it to the bar, and then and usually a lot of places, and especially nightclubs like that, there are they usually have security on staff, and potentially they could start to look into who's actually doing it, because I'm sure they're going to want that person who's wandering around, because if they can go back and check their internal system to see if you know, a guy in a red shirt is going around doing this, they'd probably want to, you know, get on top of that, because if he's doing it to one person, chances are he's doing it to others.
Yeah.
So I would definitely report it to management and security and see if they could, you know, start that ball rolling of getting that person out of the club. You know, and the other thing is, you know, once again, we're talking about business now because they want to continue to sell drinks and no one wants to create a panic, but it does now, I think, fall on the responsibility civilly for the bar to then potentially know that, okay, hold on, we have someone in here who's putting something potentially in drinks, and who knows, maybe that means halt selling the drinks until you figure out, you know, who's doing it. So you know, that's those are issues that, you know, the manufacturer of the straw as well as the company that's using it has to work out ahead of time, you know, procedures, how that would work.
Yes. How can someone protect themselves from drink spiking, possibly with the addition to the use of a straw? Like, are there any other preventative steps?
Yeah, I mean, well, one is they tell you never leave a drink. I mean, if you're drinking something, and I know not everybody likes beer. I mean, is it easier to have a bottle that you can hold in your hand than it is a cup? Sure. Especially if you have an open glass container or a cup.
Mhm.
When someone starts to drink a little too much, how much are they paying attention? They're talking to friends. They
Mhm.
put their drink down for a second. So I think that's just being self-aware,
Mhm.
making sure even if you hold your cup a certain way where you're putting your hand over the top of it, maybe there's even something there too. In addition to the straw, is there some type of little drink cover that you can have as you're holding your cup that you can
Yeah,
kind of cover the top of it?
okay. Do you have any other questions for us?
I don't have anything for you. I think it's a really good idea, though. I think it's forward thinking, and it certainly is a problem. It's a dangerous problem. I mean, I have two kids myself that you worry if they go somewhere if something like that happening. So I think you
Mhm.
guys are doing something that's very noble. It's a good idea.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
You got it. Good luck.